Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Maloney. I am a Peace Corps volunteer from America, and I will be working at the University of Humanities in Rivne for the next year and a half, 2 years. Michael has graciously invited me to discuss a series of topics about English and American literature for the distance learning courses which are taking place during February. I'm thankful for this opportunity because one of my degrees is in English literature. Although I am an American, most of my studies and focus when I was in school revolved around British literature. So I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to discuss some of these texts and some of these authors with you. So, since this is the first video, we must begin with the first and seminal text everyone encounters when they study British literature. And that would be the epic poem of Beowulf. Beowulf is in itself a contradictory and difficult text. It wasn't until the 20th century and the pioneering essays of someone you may have heard of, J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of The Lord of the Rings, that scholars began to take Beowulf seriously as a work of literature. Before this time, it held some cultural interest, especially scholars from Denmark and Sweden saw in this poem echoes of their own history and possible clues into the ways and life of their ancestors. But as a work of literature, most critics at the time saw it as confused and jumbled. The narrative is essentially a warrior who kills a monster, he kills the monster's mom, then he kills the dragon. It seemed very simplistic. It did not seem to have a lot of merit when compared to other national epics, when compared to the Aeneid from Rome, or when compared to the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. However, scholars would have a later assessment and realize the literary merit of Beowulf. But these issues about the genre and the structure and the value of Beowulf will have to wait. In order to understand Beowulf, it is necessary to enter the world of the poem, the world of Beowulf, the world of the North Germanic and West Germanic peoples. One of the strange things about starting the study of English literature with Beowulf is the setting of Beowulf is not England, is not Britain. Beowulf takes place in Denmark and southern Sweden. Now this might seem odd. This would seem like we were starting a course in Scandinavian literature or discussing the cultural history of barbarians. So why are we discussing Beowulf, a poem which doesn't even take place in Britain? In order to understand this, you must have an understanding of the history of Anglo-Saxon England, where the Anglo-Saxons come from, and what the Anglo-Saxons' values consisted of. In order to appreciate the poem of Beowulf, it is necessary to have this background. So this is the first topic of discussion that we will have. So our story here begins a little over 2,000 years ago. The Roman Empire has managed to expand itself from the shores of the Atlantic Ocean to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern-day Iraq, bordering on Persia. However, the Roman Empire is not able to control or subdue the Germanic tribes north of the Danube and east of the Rhine. And in this area is where the modern descendants of the Anglo-Saxons would develop, particularly in the Frisian Islands, north of the Netherlands, Denmark, and southern Sweden. When the Roman Empire began its decline, they would withdraw legions, their armies, from places that were on the periphery of the empire, distant from Rome. Rome was sacked by Germanic tribes around 410, 411 AD. So the Romans withdrew their armies from Britain in order to better protect Italy and to protect the capital. When they did this, they left the primarily Celtic population, Romanized Celtic population of Great Britain without defenses. In the north of England and Britain, in modern day Scotland, lived very savage tribes, particularly the Picts. During the Roman times, when Rome was strong, Emperor Hadrian had built a wall, which you can still see in northern England and Scotland. And Roman legions protected the population of England from these attacks from the northern barbarians there. However, without the Romans, the Romanized Celtic population needed defense against the invasions of these barbarians. So what they did is they asked another group of barbarians to come and help them. At this time, the Roman Empire is being overrun by Germanic tribes. You have the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Franks, the Vandals, and England, the Celtic England turned to another group of tribes in Germany to protect them. These tribes were the Jutes, the Angles, and the Saxons. The Angle tribe is the tribe that gives England its modern name. England in Old English times was called Angoland, the entire area. Many place names today are derived from the Saxons. There are counties called Wessex, Essex, Sussex, etc. So it is during this time that our modern geographic conception of England begins to enter the historical consciousness.